The American Egyptian Women of Influence podcast aims to be the American Egyptian culture podcast of choice. We believe that our knowledge and our participants' stories will greatly enhance understanding of both cultures. I'm Karen Leggett Aburaya. Laila Pence grew up near the Suez Canal in Egypt until the Six-Day War in 1967, when bombs forced her family to flee to Cairo and then to New York City, where she arrived with her mother when she was 12 years old. Now, Working Mother magazine has named her to the 2019 Top Wealth Advisor Mom list, and Investment News honored her with a Women to Watch award. And in 2017, she was a presenter at the Egyptian Women Can conference in Cairo. Welcome, Laila. Glad to have you on the air with us.
Thank you very much.
Tell me what you learned during those challenging early years in the United States that has stayed with you now through your career as a financial advisor.
I think I learned that there's really unlimited opportunities in this country, that if you work really hard and you study really hard and you don't forget your roots and you don't and you remember to always think of your heart with your heart and do the right thing, that even in those hard times, I mean, I had really hard times when we came here. We had so much in Egypt that we lost, and you come to this country thinking that the roads are paved in gold, and then you come to find the really cold weather we were just talking about, and having to take two buses to go to school, and realize how hard it is. But then you also realize the other side of it is that you really don't have any limit, that you can live the American dream, and that's really the thing that I learned early on.
And I understand your first financial job, if you will, was selling hot dogs on the Staten Island Ferry.
Well, that was not my first time. That was just my first job in high school. I went to high school, Curtis High School in Staten Island, and then afterwards I walked down and sold knishes and hot dogs and on the Staten Island Ferry and for the rush hour, and that's how I helped support myself and at a very, very young age with my family.
And most of the hot dog stands in New York are still run by Egyptians.
I guess so. I didn't even know what a knish was at that time. I learned what a knish was and a pretzel and how much people liked that. That was quite an experience. But it taught me really early on dealing with people and just customer service, even back then, which is something on a much higher level you do in finances when you deal with people. But whatever you're selling, whatever you have a service, it's all about really doing the right thing and being considerate to the other person in front of you.
And then you decided to go to much warmer weather and study economics at the University of California. And I understand your first client gave you $20,000 to invest and then stayed with you for 17 years. Why does this career appeal to you?
Well, my father was a banker, and I've always was very good with money and numbers, and so even when I was working as selling hot dogs, knishes, and all through college, I worked through college as a waitress. I always saved money, and I was actually bought my first house, as an investment at 19. And so when this friend of mine really talked to me about being involved in the financial services, I really didn't know much about the stock market or much about that. And even though you learn economics, but they don't really teach you about stocks and bonds and actual types of investments. So that really appealed to me. And I remember my first client, and I was only just 20 years of age, and I told her about investing in a mutual fund, and she gave me $20,000, and I was never more excited in my life. I couldn't believe, $20,000 at that time was a huge amount of money, and someone to just say, okay, here, go invest it for me, make me money. That was quite a thrill, and the obligation of taking care of her. And she said, I just don't want to be a bad lady. And I said, I'll do my best to make sure this money works. And I always treated my clients' money as though it was my own. more like my family's money because I treat that better than I treat my own money. And that's how I always thought, and she stayed with me until she passed away. But she gave me that very first, you always need to have that start. You need to have that one person that says, hey, I trust you, here, go do it. And you need to start. And because in order to get that start, you always want to make sure that you know what you're doing and you spend the time. And I always studied harder than everyone else and paid attention to details, because when you deal with people's money, it's the most important thing. And, you want to make sure that you relay that message that you care and that you're good at what you do.
And what connections do you still maintain with Egypt, Laila?
Well, I am still a part of the committee for Egypt Can, so I do. I'm involved in things that they might need my help in Egypt. Also, I do a certain amount of fundraising for certain charitable events here. We've done one for Mas One, which is a hospital that treats Nagyaku, which treats kids, does heart surgeries for free. I also am involved in raising money for 57357, which is Egypt Cancer Network Hospital, which is the most amazing cancer hospital for children that treats all the children for free. And I was there when I visited Egypt, and I've never been more impressed by the advancement and the care and the work they do. So we do a fundraising for them here every year. And we also did it for another hospital in Egypt, help fundraise there. So, I love the United States. I'm living the American dream, but I also love Egypt very much, and I want to help both countries, and that's because I think both countries helped me to be where I am, and it's important to give back.
Good enough. We'll stop there and let people find out more online, but I thank you very much for being with us, Laila Pence, financial advisor.